Hello there, and welcome to Breath of the Podcast. I am N64 Danny, and with me, as always, is my beautiful second half, my best friend, Kelsey. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Today we are going to be talking about NX and Zelda, a bunch of little things. That's what this podcast is going to be about, all things Nintendo. And for our first podcast, we've been making a few N64 Danny videos, and we're going to go over some talking points in that. Some things we'll skim over, other things I might elaborate on. And just to let you know, this is our first podcast. We're outside on our deck, so we might be competing with the rain or cars driving by, so don't be surprised. And this is a podcast, so feel free to just listen to this on your way to work, what have you, while you're doing homework, perhaps.
Driving in your car.
That's right. And Kelsey's actually going to be running the show. Just, what do you want to talk about first?
I think first we're going to talk about the game in general and how it's changed so much from the Zelda that you used to play.
Oh, in Breath of the Wild. Oh, yes. Oh, it's breaking every convention, that's been established. I mean, you don't even get to see Link in his green tunic. We didn't get to see boomerangs or hook shots. Of course, we'll talk about that later.
It's a mystery what there will be.
Yeah, the whole thing. It seems like this game is you figure out the story bit by bit. It doesn't really give you a direction to go. You just go.
So let's talk about the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild.
Okay, the Master Sword is interesting. I'm curious about its uses. Now, in the last Zelda game with the Master Sword, you're able to use it as a dowsing rod to find, beacons, which is cool. As interesting and as exciting as dowsing rods are, it was at least another function for the Master Sword. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to give it new functions, specifically the hookshot ability, so you can zip over to a cliff that's hard to reach, or brings you closer to your enemies or items. And then also, if you throw the Master Sword, now this is a weapon you're always supposed to have, and it's supposed to not break, right? So if you throw your Master Sword, my theory is that it'll just whirl around like a boomerang, and it'll always come back to you. So you've got the three different functions. So you throw it just like any other weapon, and it throws like a boomerang. And then it's also the hook shot, which is just awesome. So imagine an Ivy Blade in Soul Calibur that comes apart like a whip. Then maybe you can even whip enemies too. I think the Master Sword is truly, this time around, going to be the Master Sword. You're going to have a lot of functionality with this thing.
Like the Swiss Army knife of weapons.
Great way of putting it.
So, I guess lately there's been a lot of hype around whether or not there's going to be a female Link in the game, whether you can play as a female. What do you think about this?
Well, if there is a character customization, I'm down with it, absolutely. Link has always been an avatar more than anything. And, from the very beginning, you're always able to change his name. That being said, they're going out of their way of saying that this is a Link we've played before, although we don't know which one yet. So, if that's the case, then he sort of has to be male. There might be character customization if there's a multiplayer aspect. Maybe 30 of you can all jump on the same map at the same time and all look different. But as it is, I think the reason why you can't play as a female Link is because this Link is a Link we've played before. And I also think that you're going to be able to play as Zelda. Why not?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that, Zelda is a female, Link is a male, and if you were going to be able to play as a female Link, you might as well just play as Zelda.
Absolutely. She can have all different abilities, or maybe she can turn into the ninja Sheik, just like she can in Smash Bros. Or Ocarina of Time. In fact, there's a really good chance that this Zelda will be the Zelda from Ocarina of Time, but I'll get into that later.
Hmm. So you wanted to talk a little bit about the D-pad?
Yeah, most functions are shown in the demo for Breath of the Wild, excluding clicking down on the right analog stick, which I believe will activate your hook shot for your Master Sword, or if you have a hook shot, that's how you'll use it. But down on the D-pad is also not mentioned. Now, the D-pad seems to be used for quick selects, so my theory is that you're going to be able to get different headgear, and that's what down on the D-pad is. So you can, change your masks, let's say, on the fly, or maybe a special headgear that lets you breathe underwater. Yeah, I think that that's what it's going to be used for because they didn't have a headgear option in the menu, and uh, I think you're going to be able to get a lot of different things. Also, if there are masks, and I do think there will be, I think the Happy Mask salesman will, you know, you'll be able to pop into his shop, or he'll show up all over the place with his awesome bag.
Alright, so this is a big question that you've had since the very first time that we started watching the demos, but who is the old man in Breath of the Wild?
Um, okay. I am pretty positive that this is in the downfall timeline, and that you are playing. Oh my goodness, it's really starting to rain. All right, so you are playing the defeated Link that's resurrected.
I don't think the rain agrees with you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to pause this and go inside. Wowzers, that came on thick and fast. Well, we're back inside, and hit me with the question again, sweetie pie.
So who is the old man in Breath of the Wild?
Okay, it is my belief that he isn't just put there as kind of a nod to the first Legend of Zelda, ooh, you meet an old man. He is going to pop up all over the place, give you cool stuff like the glider. And this guy really knows his stuff. Could he be that he is a past hero? And I think that this is taking place in the downfall timeline where you are the resurrected Link because you died the first time and you're given a chance to, be a hero again. This Link, the old Link, is you too. It's the child Link that did Majora's Mask and all that. He knows how to get between dimensions. So what if he found his way back to the defeated timeline? Oh my goodness, Hyrule is in a serious mess. And he, for some reason, knows he has to wait a certain amount of time, and he finally finds you. He has been aging this whole time. And, he's doing what he can to help you. That's who I think it is.
Okay. Well, while we're on the topic of who is who, I was wondering if you know who the voice is in Breath of the Wild, if you have a theory on that.
Oh, well, first I just want to mention that it's super cool. There is a voice. I've been asking for voice acting in Zelda for a long time.
Are you talking about the voice that is at the very beginning?
Yeah,
When you first wake
there's
up?
never been voice acting in Zelda ever before, so this is a real treat. I'm positive that it is Zelda. Now, but here's the thing about that. You're getting messages from your Sheikah slate, almost like they're pre-recorded messages made 100 years ago. And so, because it doesn't strike a dialogue with Link, it just tells Link where to go. And I feel that Zelda is still alive, but she's 100 years older, and eventually you'll be able to find her. But I think that's what it is. I think young Zelda that brought you back and got all of this prepared has pre-recorded all these messages for you. So that's who it is. I'm pretty sure that it's the Zelda from Ocarina of Time.
That's definitely an interesting theory. I think that would be awesome. So, do we think that this game is going to have multiplayer?
Yeah, I do. I think that they'd be fools not to include something. Although a lot of people disagree with the major Zelda games being multiplayer at all. They feel it's a single-player experience, and I appreciate their thoughts on that. But I think Nintendo would just be keeping with the times, giving them multiplayer. That said, let's hope it's more fleshed out. Like I might have mentioned before, maybe 30 people in the map all at once doing whatever they want. Then maybe you can even customize, make it a female character, and it doesn't have to be the hero of time. It's just whoever you want it to
Well,
be.
if they're gonna go with character customization, I think that it would only make sense to have the multiplayer as well.
You know what I think would be really neat? In Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, you always had a fairy with you that just popped out whenever it wanted. It pointed you in the right direction. But it also kind of created bloom lighting. It was really pretty whenever it came out. And I think it'd be neat if, like let's say our daughter is playing as Link and I'm the fairy that kind of flies around. Hey, honey, check out this treasure chest. Maybe I glow green, or maybe there will be online multiplayer. Let's not with our daughter, of course. But if there is online multiplayer, that they could choose not to have any voice chat, but that might be a mistake. I think that they should have voice chat. But I think there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I think the single player experience should just be Link or all the characters. Maybe you can play more than one this time around. We'll see what ends up happening. We've only found out about 5% of this game. So if people are upset that they didn't get to see this or that, well, just wait. Nintendo's going to show us some more, I think.
In my opinion, I think that they're going to stick with the single player aspect, just because it's so traditional for the Zelda games.
They very well could, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did go that route.
Although I would enjoy it to play multiplayer. But.
Same here.
So why is Link right-handed in Breath of the Wild?
Well, Nintendo has stated it's because, well, all of your sword functions are on the right hand, so the sword should be on the right hand, and that does, I think it makes sense. But the big question is, if Link is right-handed, but he's also a Link that we've played before, well, there aren't very many. There's the Skyward Sword from the Wii, and if you're going to count the Twilight Princess for the Wii as well, in both of those he's got his hand in, or it's his right hand. I think that here's my theory. I think the reason why is because the Ocarina of Time Link is left-handed, and although he gets resurrected, it's not really him. I think this is almost a sad mirror image of his former self. Like maybe they'll explain it that way. But I do kind of want to mention it, with all of the sword functions being on the right hand. If you click down on the right analog stick, like I've mentioned, I think your sword comes out and whips you around to different places if you want.
Right, so earlier you were talking a little bit about what timeline you think that Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be in. So if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, the Zelda timeline is really weird. That Nintendo hasn't cared much how the timeline went, but Zelda fans do care, and so eventually Nintendo did come out with a timeline that branched in 3 different directions. The hero is successful, the adult timeline where the hero is successful, the child timeline, the one that goes into Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, and then the hero's fallen timeline. It's like the Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Link 2, and I think even Nintendo is sick of this timeline BS. So here's what I think they're gonna do. In a lot of different Zelda video games, there's always kind of a light and dark version of a world. I think Nintendo is gonna go one better, and you're gonna be able to play in all 3 timelines. I think you might actually have to go to a different timeline just to find your Master Sword. But I think there's going to be a Hyrule in ruin, a Hyrule that's thriving, and a Hyrule that's mostly underwater. And that'll be kind of cool. I think that'd be a great nod to Wind Waker. It's a lot of people's favorite Zelda game. But I think, I think what they're going to do is they're going to find a way of making it in all 3 timelines, unifying them back into one timeline, just so they don't have to deal with the timeline BS anymore.
Okay, so we have 2 more topics until we get into the NX,
I'm
which
excited.
we're going to. But I do have something that isn't on our list of topics to cover, which is the grave in the Temple of Time.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting.
I think so too. We haven't seen graves anywhere else in the Breath of the Wild demo, although it is a Zelda mainstay, and it looks exactly the way it should with a little headstone and then the square patch where you push it over. You know, probably takes you down below to where the real grave is. But here's the thing: if it's a grave in the Temple of Time, who are you gonna bury in the Temple of Time, if not the hero of time? And it's not a very lavished grave. It's pretty darn pathetic. Probably for some hero of time that didn't do his job correctly. And, you know, I wouldn't also be surprised if, you know, those are where your bones are, because I believe this is the resurrected fallen Link from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, well, it would make sense too if you could go between the timelines.
Yeah, I think so.
And it would kind of be like, you know, you have the old man and you have the grave, and you were also playing as Link.
Yeah, well, I think the old man, is an older version of you that survived but got thrown into a different parallel universe. That's they're not so much timelines, but they're 3 different parallel universes. But they could even go one greater and make 2 different timelines for every universe. Boy, that would be crazy.
So one thing that really stood out to me is how you can use the wolf in the game. The amiibo, the Wolf Link amiibo.
That is too cool for words. Yeah, if you have a Wolf Link amiibo, typically amiibo functionality is okay in most of the games. But in this case, Nintendo went the extra mile. If you have the Wolf Link amiibo and you have Twilight Princess, you do this other secret dungeon, and depending on how many hearts you finished with in that's how many hearts your brand new pet Wolf Link gives you in Breath of the Wild, which is, I think, right there, it confirms that pets are a thing. You're probably going to get pet, you know, maybe cats are represented like a panther or a lion, wolves, dogs, like a bloodhound. I would just love to get a black dog and call it Ruby, huh? Aw. Or, you know, maybe an eagle, or there's also the Guardian amiibo. What if you can get that giant Guardian as a pet, or just a little miniature? That would be neat.
That would be awesome.
But I think that they're not just going to make this awesome new pet mechanic for Wolf Link if they're not going to actually implement it through most of the game. You always have like a partner. It probably doesn't go with you into dungeons. Maybe they do. But I think Wolf Link is more of a skin than anything. And I don't think, some people think that this, the Wolf Link amiibo points to just the child timeline. Absolutely. I don't think people should think too highly into that, because also the Koroks, these little leaf people, they're from the adult timeline, and they shouldn't really be in it at all. So I think Nintendo just makes these awesome choices, and they put the timeline to the side for now. They don't really care. You shouldn't care. But Wolf Link amiibo, I'm excited. And now I almost want to go get one.
Yes. Well, if we get the game, we're going to have to get the amiibo, right?
Good point.
Okay, so let's talk about the Happy Mask Salesman before we go into the NX.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited, and I really hope they make a Happy Mask Salesman amiibo. But this guy is just so darn kooky and kind of eerie, and he can he has the ability to go through different parallel universes. You know, he's in all the timelines, and
so we could just show up and be like, hey.
Exactly, and in Majora's Mask, he's got this really cool bag with all these masks all around it. Like, I think you go to a different region, he's just always there wandering around. He might have a new mask to sell you, or and I was just thinking about this now. What if some amiibo functionality is tied to the Happy Mask Salesman? Let's say you have a Mario amiibo, and you go up to the Happy Mask Salesman, and boom, you've got a Mario mask. Maybe it turns you into Mario. like Majora's Mask, but I don't think it will. I think at most he might be able to jump a little higher. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, he's really cool, and I just thinking about the Happy Mask salesman makes me smile.
All right, so that covers our topics for Zelda Breath of the Wild for today. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the Nintendo NX. And I just want to kind of get your thoughts on exactly what you think it's going to be.
I've been speculating for a while, watching all of the patents that have been arising for a while, that the NX is going to be a smartphone. And every time there's a new patent, there was a new one that came out like yesterday. And a bunch of different images for it. And I think it really does point to a smartphone. One of them is the exact layout of an Android phone. So maybe it is going to run on some sort of version of Android. Although I think it'll be the Nintendo operating system, the NOS. That's just a cool name. Yeah, I think it'll be a smartphone. But with these new patents that have come out, I'm pretty sure it's a smartphone on one side, and then you flip the phone over, and it is 2 analog sticks. The new patent only shows 1, but they'll put 2 for developers. It'll be 2 analog sticks, D-pad, 4 face buttons, 2 scroll wheels on the top. I could see that being used really well. So think of scroll wheels like on your mouse, and it'll be able to just stream it right to any TV that you're using. So your device is the bottom screen. It's basically the lower part of a DS.
Well, at the very least, I think they're going for the more sleek, phone-ish design.
Yeah.
Definitely fits really good in the pocket. I don't know if they'll necessarily have like the calling feature and texting and stuff, but definitely the design looks a lot more sleek, like a phone would be.
Admittedly, Nintendo has shied away from anything like that in the past. They wanted it to be very family-friendly. But here's the thing. Gun to my head, I don't always bring the 3DS with me everywhere I go. In fact, if I make sure I don't forget anything, I make sure I don't forget my phone. It's not that we don't have 2 pockets. It's just normally people just walk around with 1 device on them. And if you make it a phone, first and foremost, I think that people will be buying this for their grandparents or for their kids. If as a first-time parent, maybe you want your kid's first cell phone to be a Nintendo phone. But then it also plays amazing HD games on your TV or on the go. I think it's going to be really cool, and they'd be foolish not to do it. But you might be right, darling. I think they might play it safe.
Well, I think that they would be smart to go with apps. Like how phones have the apps and stuff. Like I said, maybe not necessarily the calling feature. Like even my iPod here doesn't have calling on it, but I can use it for so much stuff. And to be able to have the opportunity to play those games on it, I think that would be great. But kind of off topic, I was thinking, wouldn't it be awesome to have a phone that you could clip into like the Circle Pad Pro and have the analog sticks on it?
I'm glad you mentioned that. You know what? The Circle Pad Pro is a good idea, but Nintendo should have had the 2 analog sticks on the original 3DS to begin with, and because they didn't, maybe only 10% of the 3DS market bought Circle Pad Pros. So developers can't make games assuming everybody has it because they don't. That'd be separating your audience. Now with this new NX patent, people are saying that these patents are showing they can't figure out where this second screen is supposed to go, and so people are saying that, as the middle screen comes out.
I was thinking it kind of looks like it has a detachable screen. And it, like almost like the idea of the Circle Pad Pro where you kind of clip it in.
Yeah.
Where you can take the screen itself out.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking that's what this is. But if you do that, Nintendo and other developers don't know how much of the system you have. Do you just have the middle part, or do you have the whole thing? They have to make it an all-in-one device.
You'd buy it all in one.
Yeah. The only reason why people aren't thinking of a device that's as thin as a cell phone but having screens on both sides is because I don't think phones have ever done that before. Have you ever seen a phone with a screen on both sides?
No.
It's totally possible with internal batteries. Every Android I've ever seen always has a back plate because you have to take the battery in and out. But if it was all internal, then you could do that.
Like the iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is all built in.
I think Nintendo could learn a lot from Apple. And they probably already have.
Okay, so we were talking about how they might be going with the cartridges.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is that a for sure thing?
It's pretty for sure. The thing is, it's the smartest technology that they could use. The Wii U and any other system, there's a lot of moving parts in there only for the optical drive. So it makes it a lot bulkier. You've got to have something that accepts, like, somewhere where it spins, the motors. So this would kind of eliminate all moving parts, and then you wouldn't need much of a fan. You wouldn't need a fan at all, really. Also, when cartridges kind of went out of style, it's because CDs, you could fit so much more onto a CD. But nowadays, even with these, Blu-ray, and it takes longer to load everything off of your disc than it does off of the system. That's why you always see system installs for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way smarter nowadays. They could fit a whole terabyte, or what do they call it? What's that crazy one? The squilliabyte or something. Oh, something really big. They could fit it all into one tiny little card. And I think it's great. And I miss having a game I can actually hold.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense because the 3DS and the DS, they all have cartridges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going with the same kind of design, which it kind of looks like they are, then it would make sense to have the cartridges. And they're nice and thin and like, so it wouldn't take up a whole lot of room.
I think the value of the games would go up too. I think EB would have no problem with taking in these awesome cartridges, and they're going to really last the test of time. It's something I would feel comfortable giving to our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really cool. Now, here's a question I want to ask you. What do you think? If it does have a cartridge slot, does that mean it's going to be backwards compatible with DS and 3DS games? Do you think that Nintendo would do that?
Well, if they're not planning on changing the design of the cartridge, and they kept it the same, I don't see why not.
Well, what they did for the DS and the 3DS is it was the exact same cartridge, but the 3DS has an extra lip on it, so you can't put it into old DS games, into old DS systems.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's got a double lip on it, so you can't put it into a 3DS or a DS, but you can put it into your NX.
Yeah, well, what they did with the Wii U is they made it so you can play your Wii games on the Wii U. So they've kind of been going in that direction. It wouldn't surprise me if you could use the old games.
Yeah.
In the NX.
Yeah, backwards compatibility could be a big thing. It's extra cost for Nintendo. They might ditch it entirely in lieu of a brand new operating system.
Mm-hmm.
But it would certainly be a bold move if they continued to do that, because that's something that Microsoft and Sony are not doing as much anymore. Maybe they feel there's no money in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Wii U isn't as popular as I think it should be. But
Yeah.
the fact that we can use our old games with it, I think has made a lot of a difference on how much we actually use it too. Because then you don't have to go in and trade all of your old games.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a good idea if they made it backwards compatible. That would be thinking of the gamer first.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the pocketbook. Any other questions about NX?
No, I think that's everything that we have to talk about for today.
Alrighty. Something I wanted to mention. We are recording this on my phone, and that is a Samsung Galaxy S3. And I would love to tell you all about Pokemon Go right now.
But old technology.
That's right. My system is not compatible. And my beautiful wife, you can't get it because we're in Canada.
go.
Yeah.
See, I could be catching Pokemon right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So I would be out there in the rain catching Pokemon if I could.
Guess what? I was skimming through the news, and apparently already some kid found a dead body by using Pokemon Go. It tells you to go to the bush because that's where the Pokemon is. No, it's a dead body.
Well, someone's got to find the dead body.
That's true. So I guess that's a good thing, right? You know, or it's an interesting story at least. Yeah, thank you.
I think that it would be interesting to have people walking in your backyard. I see a Pokemon over there.
Imagine if it's like a really fat guy and you're like, hey, look, Snorlax. You know, like that really big, puffy Pokemon.
That's
I know, I'm just joking. I'm saying people can be mean that way. But it looks like it's really cool. I think it's going to make...
I'm really excited for it, actually.
Nintendo making all of these smartphone games is another big hint that they're making a smartphone.
Exactly, and it just makes sense. I love it. I love the idea of it and the concept, and I cannot wait to play.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, baby. Well, thank you very much for listening to Breath of the Podcast, brought to you by N64 Danny and Kelsey.
Yay!
You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you next time.
Bye!